organic, unpredictable, unknown, lovely, beautiful, a sense of fulfillment. This is part of the pleasures of life and not the chores of life.
Coming up on Daily Iowan TV, Occupy Pentecrest. We'll tell you what protesters had to say as they took to the UI campus Thursday.
Plus, find out how the Salvation Army is coping with increased demands for food this holiday season.
And in sports, it's another edition of Daily Iowan TV Pregame, where I'll break down this weekend's road trip to Purdue.
All that and more is coming your way next.
Daily Iowan TV starts now.
Thanks for tuning into your Thursday edition of Daily Iowan TV, your television news, sports, and weather source for the Daily Iowan. I'm Josh Bolander.
And I'm Christina Targos. Occupy Iowa City staged its walkout today in the Pentecrest, drawing several UI students. The protesters held the teach-in to raise awareness about what they say is the corporatization of the university.
It's time we take action, it's time we start making change, and it's time we be the change that we're demanding.
Occupy Iowa City participants rallied at the Old Capitol to discuss the country's economic troubles and the negative impact it's creating for students. Professor Osterman spoke on the lack of state funding within the university.
The University of Iowa actually gets less money now from the state than it did in 1998. Less money, not in inflated dollars or anything, less actual dollars. Tuition's gone up 227% in that amount of time. That's how come it has had to go up.
Speakers primarily focused on issues involving tuition hikes, increasing student loans, and decreasing state funds for higher education. Although local support has remained relatively low, many believe public awareness is the first step in implementing change.
My personal reason for being here is to educate the public, because the public has to realize democracy only comes from the people. No government can provide democracy.
Occupiers continuously encourage students to take a stance towards rising tuition. Brad Maxwell, Daily Iowan TV.
The Iowa City protesters are currently on day 48 of occupation and plan to maintain the movement throughout the holiday season.
The latest presidential candidate to come through town, Rick Santorum, visited Iowa City Thursday and addressed foreign policy. The GOP hopeful spoke at the Coralville Marriott before making the usual political pit stop at the Hamburg Inn. Santorum mostly focused on his foreign policy, which includes developing a stronger working relationship with Israel. Santorum also said it is critical that we stop what he called a viable nuclear threat in Iran.
We need to be more active in saying Iran's regime has to go, and that we will support elements within that country that will help replace that regime.
Despite Santorum's urgency, 17 government agencies have said that Iran is not developing a nuclear program. For more on his visit and reactions from locals, you can check out Friday's pages of the Daily Iowan.
Iowa City could soon change the way it deals with drinking violations. The Partnership for Alcohol Safety has recommended that the City Council alters its current Paula ratio system for issuing liquor licenses. Currently, the city does not have a limit for those businesses exempt from the 21 ordinance because they are designated as restaurants. The partnership says a limit needs to be implemented and that businesses with that exemption should be required to keep their kitchen open during all business hours.
In an economy that has continued to decline, many families have to make reductions to their Thanksgiving meals. Daily Iowan TV's Jake Abrams tells us how some low-income families are able to put a full meal on their plate this Thanksgiving.
We have many families in our community that on a normal day can hardly afford to put a meal on their table.
And that's why the Salvation Army in Iowa City is doing all they can to help this upcoming holiday season. Thanksgiving is right around the corner, and they're giving away what they call Thanksgiving boxes.
We have 125 boxes this year that we'll be distributing.
Now every box is packed with stuffing, cornbread, green beans, and even a turkey. So no matter if it's one person picking up the box or an entire family, nobody's going hungry this Thanksgiving.
Prices have increased greatly this year. The average price of a Thanksgiving meal has rose 13%, and the average cost of a turkey is up 22% from last year. These Salvation Army boxes are helping low-income families not having to worry about one more payment. But who exactly is responsible for putting these boxes together?
They are a group of ladies that every Tuesday morning they get together and have coffee together, And this Tuesday, every year, they, instead of going out to Java House and having coffee, they come here and assemble the boxes for us. It took them maybe about an hour to get them all done. They have it down to a science now.
The Salvation Army is known for their food pantry and hosting free dinners every night of the year. But on Thanksgiving, they close their doors and give families everything they need to host a dinner on their own.
This, for some of them, is the one thing that they're thankful for, giving them hope in a season that usually they have lost their hope in.
And at the end of the day, they put together these boxes
so they can prepare a Thanksgiving meal at home with their family.
Jake Abrams,
stuffing, mashed potatoes.
Daily Iowan TV.
Despite flood recovery efforts and shrinking state appropriations, the UI's debt is lower than its peer institutions. That's according to UI officials who said the UI is able to keep its costs down, mostly due to the fact that the Board of Regents and the university are exempt from income taxes. Officials say these factors help keep tuition rates low, something UI officials have prided themselves on, despite 3 tuition increases in the last year. To find out where the UI's debt stacks up against other schools, be sure to check out Friday's pages of the Daily Iowan.
A Coralville man was arrested after allegedly racking up nearly $110,000 in charges on someone else's account. 31-year-old Joshua Booth is being charged with identity theft after he allegedly stole a man's name, birthday, and social security number to purchase merchandise online. Stretching back to last December, Booth allegedly spent over $100,000 on everything from a water ionizer to clothing. Booth faces charges of identity theft and 2 counts of both first and second degree theft.
Everyone has heard about the Freshman 15, how your first year at college can cause you to pack on some extra pounds. But what everyone seems to view as common fact may actually just be a myth. Daily Iowan TV's Reed Chandler looks at the findings of this new pound-shaking study.
Freshman year of college is a time of change, and for many students, that change is shown often on the weight scale.
I probably gained about 10 or 15 pounds.
I would say it was probably closer to like 3 to 5 pounds, but it was enough to be noticeable.
Gained about my normal weight coming in, so about 5 pounds.
But a new study from Ohio State University says first-year college students on average only gain about 3 pounds during the year, and the causes aren't related to being a college student. The study suggests heavy drinkers and those without a job are prone to more weight gain, but being a college student is not. And those in the same age range not attending college are just as likely to gain weight. But at the UI, where fitness resources are so widely available, the Freshman 15 may be even more of a myth.
We also have a personal training option, and according to our personal training staff, it is booming right now, and it's continuing to grow. So individuals are utilizing the programs that we do have here.
And if most Iowa students are already using the fitness centers on campus, the idea of a Freshman 15 outbreak is even less likely, with plans to expand the current rec center.
This project was originally done to have 2 phases. So the CRWC is the first part of the phase, and then the second part is to continue down south on Madison Street and bring things that are over at the field house over here, and then the field house would be demolished.
Here at the Campus Recreation and Wellness Center, 5,000 to 6,000 students a day are fighting off weight gain. I tell you this is where you should go to beat the Freshman 15, but according to the study, your first year at college isn't the reason behind those pounds. For Daily Iowan TV, I'm Reed Chandler.
And the newest rec center on campus reports they see the most patrons right after New Year's and just before spring break.
And now Brad Maxwell joins us in the studio for a look at your local weather forecast. Brad?
Thanks, guys. Tomorrow shouldn't be too bad. In the morning, we'll see temps around 39 degrees. Sure to warm up to 52 in the afternoon with plenty of sun. In the evening, we'll drop back down to 45 with some clouds moving in. Looking ahead to the week, you can expect a high of 56 on Saturday with a 30% chance of rain. After that, temps should stay in the 40s with a high of 41 on Sunday. We'll see a steady rise to a high of 49 on Wednesday with no rain expected throughout the week. That's what you can expect for the next few days. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Brad. And only with Daily Iowan TV can you get a sneak peek at Friday's pages of the Daily Iowan. Read about why some men are still confused about whether they can take leave after the birth of a child. Plus, why UI International students won't be left out in the cold during this Thanksgiving.
And after a tough loss to Michigan State last weekend and their Big Ten title hopes gone, the Hawkeyes still hope to finish the season strong. And to get you ready for the game against the Boilermakers, we have everything you need to know in our weekly breakdown we call Daily Iowan TV Pregame.
Hello and welcome into another edition of Daily Iowan TV Pregame. I'm Chelsea Byrne on my own today as Jake Abrams travels to Indiana for the matchup we're talking about this week. It's the Hawks versus the Boilermakers in a game that to some may seem anticlimactic, but is huge significance for both teams. After a loss that truly looked like a loss last weekend to Michigan State, Iowa is looking to redeem themselves by grabbing their first road win of the year. That's right, the Hawks are winless on the road, not only this season, but for the past year as a whole, with their last road win coming at Indiana last year. The Hawks did win at the Insight Bowl last year, which was an away atmosphere, but it wasn't a Big Ten atmosphere, which is what seems to be the biggest issue Iowa has.
Yeah, as you might imagine, probably more focused on our 4 losses. Everyone's a different story, I think. So, 3 of them on the road. 1 at home, and I guess that's a 75% common denominator. But every story is a little bit different. How we lost it, or what plays might have been critical, and the other common denominators. There's usually at least 10 to 12 plays that or situations that could have changed the outcome. And the one common denominator too with our road games are they've all been close.
And as Coach Ferentz said, that game Saturday did not go the way the Hawks wanted. Michigan State scored 2 touchdowns in the first 8 minutes and another 2 before the half, which would essentially seal the win despite Iowa's best efforts to battle back. The bright light for the Hawks was once again number 7, as senior wide receiver Marvin McNutt ended his last game in Kinnick by putting up a touchdown and 130 receiving yards. McNutt is now 17 receptions away from breaking the all-time season receptions record and 20 away from breaking the all-time career receptions record. And there is no one that Ferentz thinks deserves it more.
And congratulate Marvin. He achieved another milestone on Sunday or Saturday, excuse me, with the receiving yards for career in season. And I think the thing that's really noteworthy about that, right now he's averaging 17.2 a catch. Which puts him about a full yard ahead of the next guy, which I believe is Tim Dwight.
And with the win against Michigan back on November 5th, Iowa became bowl eligible for another year. For Purdue to become bowl eligible, they must beat the Hawks. Purdue is looking to go to a bowl game for the first time since 2007, and after beating Ohio State last weekend, they surely have the mindset that it can be done. If Purdue does become bowl eligible, it will make things very interesting for the Big Ten. Only 8 teams are normally selected for the postseason bowl play out of the Big Ten. But if Purdue wins 1 more game and Northwestern wins one more, that makes 10 of the 12 teams in the Big Ten available for bowl bidding. The question will then come down to who deserves to continue playing into the new year and who should be done after next weekend. It's up to the bowl selection committee to decide, but for fun, Daily Iowan TV took a look at what bowls the Big Ten usually go to and who we might see there this year. There is still a lot of confusion with this year's bowl situation, making it much less predictable in years past. With 8 secure bowl games, plus a possible 9th if the Big Ten gets a BCS at-large bid, any team could go anywhere. This weekend will help clear up some of this mess, but for now it looks like Iowa's best bets are either the Insight Bowl in Arizona, the Gator Bowl in Florida, or the Menke Car Care Bowl in Texas. These 2 road games for the Hawks will help decide their bowl destiny. And one last thing before I leave you for the night, let's take a look at what this week's connection of the game are. This is the first time Iowa has played Purdue since 2008. When the Hawkeyes lost to Purdue in 2007, it was by more than 10 points, as Purdue defeated them 31-6. Iowa didn't lose another game by more than 10 points until last weekend's loss against Michigan State. Only 1 player from the Iowa roster is from the state of Indiana. Trent Mossbrucker, a kicker for the Black and Gold, grew up in Morrisville, Indiana. The Purdue roster has no players from the state of Iowa. And this weekend's game will kick off the cross-division rivalry set up by the Big Ten against Iowa and Purdue. When the Big Ten was split into Legends and Leaders divisions, each team was given a designated rival they played every year. Iowa and Purdue will now play each other every year, despite being a little less constant of a matchup in the past. This Iowa-Purdue matchup game came as a surprise to a lot of Big Ten fans, even to those directly associated with it. Because it is so random, it seems to have a little less of an impact as a rivalry game, and more of an impact as a road game.
We haven't played them in a couple years now, but they're a really good program, and we know they have a really good team, so it's going to be a battle.
We still have to go out and play hard, really. That's all that matters. It really doesn't matter about the rivalries or anything like that. It's about going out and putting on your best performance for football.
It was going to be somebody. So, yeah, I didn't think too much about it.
And though it doesn't seem like a big game to many right now, in the grand scheme of things, it could have a huge impact on the Hawkeyes and their future for the rest of the season. It shouldn't be a game to take lightly, and it gives Iowa the chance to redeem themselves after a season filled with ups and downs. That's all for tonight's show. We won't be joining you next week because of the Thanksgiving holiday, but be sure to check out dailyiowan.com for full recaps of the Purdue game and coverage leading up to the much-anticipated road trip to Lincoln, Nebraska. I'm Chelsea Byrne. Thanks for joining me, and have a great night.